Partisan politics. House of Representatives moves to amend CBN Act. Beneficiary institutions of TED Fund get ultimatum to account for subventions. And House investigates National Malaria Program over failure to make WHO vaccine rollout. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Victor Azu. A bill seeking to amend Section 11 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act has passed second reading in the House of Representatives. Our correspondent at the National Assembly, Lami Ali, tells us that Section 11 of the CBN Act 2007 provides conditions for disqualification and cessation of appointment of the governor, deputy governor and director of the bank.
Sponsor of the bill, Representative Sadisoli, while debating the proposed amendments to enable the insertion of an additional clause, said it seeks to strengthen the CBN being a lender of last resort. The new insertion provides that the governor, deputy governor or director of the CBN shall be disqualified or cease to hold that office if he is a member of a political party or involved in partisan politics.
There was a time a governor of central bank went to court seeking for an interpretation whether he can participate in partisan politics. So we need to address that. For that reason, today, the credibility of CBN in the custody of sensitive election materials is being questioned.
Four other bills passed second reading, including bill to amend Pension Reform Act from the Deputy Speaker Ahmed Idris Wasi and bill to establish Chartered Institute of Digital Technology and Development, sponsored by Solomon Maren.
Advance the usage of technology, digital intelligence, and positive global change in education, learning, training, and skills development.
5 bills were read the third time and passed, among them the bill to amend some sections of the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act. The House adopted a motion from Representative Ahmed Munir, which urged authorities to look into observations on blocked SIM cards, which he said could be used to make calls when outside Nigeria's area of coverage.
Once you keep the source of this call, when it only it actually works perfectly.
Meanwhile, the House has described as mischievous reports in some sections of the media on attempts to impeach the Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila in relation to the Water Resources Bill.
Elsewhere, state government-owned tertiary institutions benefiting from the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, but fail to account for such subventions, have 3 weeks to do so. Now, the chairman, House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services, Aminu Suleiman Goro, gave the ultimatum during the committee's oversight to TED Fund, as John Yaku tells us.
The essence of a legislative oversight is to ensure probity and accountability of public expenditure. This precisely is the reason the committee is giving this order.
We have a responsibility to ensure that all funds collected from the federal government are deployed for the purposes for which they are provided. And we cannot be certain if institutions are refusing to respond to requests, legitimate requests from the committees. And to that extent, through the fund, we have given them a last warning to respond. Otherwise, we may consider severe consequences for such defaulting institutions.
We are going to communicate to them as long as public funds are being used and they are TED fund projects. These are the committees that oversight us. They have access, they should have access to those projects, to inspect them, and have access to information about how they are managed.
The Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Sonny Echono, while appreciating the National Assembly for their cooperation, told the committee that there was a drop in remittance collection in 2021, but with the promise by the federal government to increase its funding, this will improve quality of education, as he promises an open, independent evaluation of activities of TED Fund.
In the meantime, allegations of poor performance on the part of the National Malaria Elimination Program has been blamed for Nigeria's exclusion from the malaria vaccine rollout of the World Health Organization. Now, this has prompted a resolution of the House of Representatives to unravel the truth, championed by spokesman of the House, Benjamin Kalu.
In passing the resolution, House members expressed concern that the Office of the Inspector General for Global Fund rated as low the performance of the National Malaria Elimination Program. This has put the country at risk of losing the grants from the Global Fund, aside its exclusion from the malaria vaccine rollout.
Under 5 babies are dying due to malaria. I'm telling you, and you can take my words to the bank, based on credible statistics, that we are losing our citizens to malaria. If it was not important, Global Health Fund would not be interested in giving us grant for that. WHO will not be interested in it. Islamic Bank will not be interested in it. And the nation also brought out a policy that will help us go from where we are to where we ought to be in fighting it. And you were around when we fought for the net, mosquito net, treated mosquito net, to be manufactured in Nigeria and distributed. And it was part of the Impact Project. About $300 million or so was allocated for the Impact Project. It's a particular segment that had to do with other commodities fighting malaria. From November, that the Parliament passed it, till July, the implementing agency has done nothing. Running from one file on one table to the other. And the money is there. It's a loan. And interest will start accumulating soon. And Nigeria will be indebted further. Whereas we have not accessed the money. Not because the banks, whether the World Bank, the Islamic Bank, it's not that they are not making the money available. It's that we have not finished with our paperwork to begin to access this money. And it's a cause for an urgent intervention because our people, they are dying. And you know, guess what? Another investigation shows, report, which we want to investigate, shows that fake nets are being used by the relevant agencies. Nets that are not treated according to the standard of the WHO, according to the approval of NAFDAC. They are out there, and people are using it, and they are dying. Some of them are being sourced from China, from illegal sources. When the Parliament has maintained that this is not a grant, major part of that money is not grant, it's loan. It is not fair to Nigerian taxpayers to bring in fund in the name of loan and then take it out again to manufacture what ordinarily we can manufacture here and reduce our unemployment rate and increase and pay tax in the country and help to shoot up the economy. You know, we are worried that about 300 million coming in, that they are planning to take it out, to spend it outside through importation for what we can produce here. What happened to our factories in Nigeria? And there is 1 or 2 factories approved by WHO, approved by Global Health Fund, approved by NAFDAC, approved by Ministry of Health. Why don't you give them the job? So this was what we prayed the House to invite these relevant agencies to come. They need to come and meet with a joint committee that will be made up of House Committee on HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, House Committee on Health Services, House Committee on Health Institutions, that will form the joint committee that will listen to them and do the investigation.
Now, when you hear the word consideration, it appears quite simple. But for the legislature, it's a whole process. Let's get a sense of the legislative term as broken down by Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Fulata.
whenever there is a bill or a motion on a particular subject matter, it is referred after, if it's a bill, after going to the first and second reading, the bill is referred to a committee, a standing committee. If it is an investigative motion, the House either sets up an ad hoc committee to look at, into that matter, or it is referred to an existing standing committee to investigate that matter. A specific period is given to that particular committee to lay its report before the House. After the completion of its assignment, the committee now lays its report before the House, and then Chairman Rules and Business now schedule a date for the consideration of that report. During that consideration, the House will resolve into committee of the whole. It is no longer House in session. To consider reports, the committee of the whole is the largest committee in the House. It comprises everybody. So a motion will now be moved by the majority leader at the instance of the Speaker that he should move a motion to allow House resolve into committee of the whole. A motion is moved. The gavel is moved from the upper chamber to the lower chamber. Then it is now committee. While addressing the chair, you refer to the Speaker or the presiding officer as the chairman of the committee of the whole. Then report of that on that bill or report arising or submitted by a particular committee will now be considered. If it is a bill, it is close. The House Committee of the Whole will now go from clause to clause. Every clause, a clause will be read out. Then if members agree, then it will be carried. If there's an amendment, a motion for amendment will be moved, and that clause will be amended. It is also possible that a particular clause can be expunged entirely, or the entire bill itself can be killed, can be at that committee of the whole, or it may be stepped down, or it may be withdrawn, whichever case applies. So consideration means it is a period where, a time where the House sits down to consider, go through the report of a particular committee with a view to approving. After the committee of the whole might have finished that consideration, a motion will now be moved by the majority leader at the instance of the Speaker, now requesting him to move a motion that the House revert back to plenary to report progress. Now, when House reverts back to plenary, the Speaker now will read out the deliberations of the committee of the whole, or that was considered a decision, will now be reported to the House in plenary. Then the House, a motion will be moved by the majority leader or any other person designated by the Speaker that the House do adopt the report of the committee of the whole. It is only after the adoption by the House in plenary that document becomes now a document of the House for onward transmission.
There's been so much talk about the welfare of judicial officers in recent times, particularly because of their very sensitive role in society. But what needs to be done to ensure that the judiciary lives up to its responsibility as the last hope of the common man? I bet the common man has something to say about this. Let's go to the streets.
Honestly, the judiciary is the hope of common man. And where there's no social amenity for them or what they're supposed to get, then where that's why our judicial system is failing.
If they are independent, let them dictate their salary, fix their salary, let them have their own fund, not government releasing to them. They are supposed to be independent, but they are not independent the way it is now.
You see that arm of the government is a very important one. Is an arm that shouldn't be influenced at all. So if you want them to be independent in the way they tackle injustice in this country, they have to be well mobilized and they have to be well paid and all that.
Not only judiciary, even other sector. By the time your package, your welfare package is okay, nobody will come and say, please take this and pervert justice.
The government should improve the welfare of the judiciary in order not to receive bribe. Because once you are well paid, you understand, irrespective of what is coming, you understand, you don't have anything to do with that. But once they are not well paid, I'm telling you, look for an avenue to ensure that you sustain your life.
The committee segment this week takes a look at the House Committee on FCT Judiciary. We spoke with Chairman of the committee, Chudy Momah, on a wide range of issues in the judiciary.
We've had a transparent process that has produced more judges in the recent past, and the number of judges produced, they all comply with the federal character principle. You know, it's not lopsided like what we used to have before. And additionally, we're making intensive efforts to see that the welfare and allowances of these judges and of course other staffs and their appointees, their aides, are being taken care of. And that reminds me, even on the floor of the House early last month, on the floor of the House, a motion was brought on the floor of the House on need to review the welfare and emoluments of the judges, you know, both in the FCT judiciary and of course the federal judiciary. You know, so although that motion didn't go through on the floor of the House because a lot of amendments were coming, and you know there's an extent to which you have a lot of amendments, it defeats the subject matter, the main crux of the motion. You know, so that's just to mention a few, and we've always expedited the process of their budget passage, which has also helped them to achieve a lot. You know, and we've seen situations whereby employment opportunities have also been created across board. You know, so I think in the FCT judiciary, which is the committee I'm the chairman, I think we've done reasonably well. And of course, you know, we're not in charge or we don't oversight the dispensation of justice. That's not, our own is just the bureaucracy and to see that the bottlenecks and the hitches are removed for a smooth operation. It's abysmal. The emoluments is abysmal. It's poor. It's just like judges and their judgments should be revered. The emoluments should also be revered. That is the truth. To whom much is given, much is expected. You know, these are people that sit and preside over issues that affect me and you, that affect the entire people. I mean, before now, we used to say that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. So we need to create a system. We need to create a system whereby there will be no reason to play to the gallery. We need to create that system completely. You understand what I'm saying? So there is urgent need for upward review of the allowances, emoluments, and the welfare packages of judges. There is. It's expedient. We've debated this severally at the committee level because that was what actually led to the quest for more judges, appointment of more judges. Because, I mean, the existing ones have a lot of files, both in arrears and the ones that keep coming. And like you said, our criminal justice system has been carved out in a way that every matter is either, it comes via either writ of summons or originating summons, and it will be taken to one high court or the other. And the question you ask yourself is, these high court judges that preside over this matter, before you appoint a judge to preside over a matter, he already has a lot in arrears that he is yet to dispense justice on. And now you take more to bring to him. You understand? And they are humans. Don't forget, they are not robots. I mean, they are not cyborgs. They are just humans like myself and yourself. So sometimes some of these things could be heavy laden on them. So that's what led to the first issue I told you about, which is urgent need to do something about their welfare packages so that you can make the system extensive, bigger. The Constitution has provided the basis there that for you to be a judge, you have to have at least, I think it's 10 years post-call, or is it 15 years post-call? You understand that kind of thing. So there are so many people that are eminently qualified for that position. But the problem now is the budgetary allocation to them. Is it sustainable to take care of the merry-go-round? That's the problem. You understand? So currently the budget of the judiciary is about 110 billion. How much have we expended in this security in an ad hoc capacity? Not in a budget that, or in an auxiliary measure. How much have we expended on insecurity? And what results have we gotten? Nothing. You understand? So I think we need to ardently and expeditiously do something about the judges' welfare, because it all bottles down to it. Now we have more judges. FCT High Court has 37 extra justices. And their welfare is an issue. Most of them have not gotten their official accommodations. They've not gotten their official vehicles. No startup, no funds for their welfare packages and their aids and all that. How do you expect such a judge to sit down and deliberate over a criminal matter when mentally he is not put together yet? Do you understand what I'm saying? So all these things go pari passu. So I think the most important thing is, let us start from the basics. What is the basics? Need to address and need to open up the system of the judiciary in such a way that we can have more judges and more welfare packages will be created for them. Yes, their funding comes from Consolidated Revenue Funds, CRF, but the point is the funding is not enough. It is not sufficient compared to what we want to achieve. It was 100 billion before now, but now it's 110. I know what efforts it took our committee to get the speaker and the chairman House Committee on Appropriation to do the needful and all that. So how do you think you can push again for that? You understand what I'm saying? So we're doing our best, trying to push hard, but there should be an executive will. We're not doing this for ourselves. It's being done for everybody. The executive that is bringing the budget should increase the budget from there, because that's the source. You can make the budget 200 or 180 and all that. And when you bring it here, it is now for us, as the chairman judiciary committees in the House of Reps and the Senate, to ensure that there's a smooth passage without bottlenecks or hiccups or hurdles that would impede the passage of that executive appropriation. You understand? But it's very difficult when the executive brings it and you're now trying to see how you can keep amending to bring in more this and more that. Tomorrow the executive will start shouting, pardon, pardon. So let them pad it in quote from the executive and bring it, and we'll protect it here and make sure that it passes.
Indeed, many have argued that until complete financial autonomy for the judiciary is in place, it cannot truly be the last hope of the common man. And this is where we call it a day on You and Your Reps. Many thanks for watching. I am Victor Azu. Let's do this again, same time next week.